If you're thinking about giving to your children, especially your adult children or future grandchildren, etc., if you're thinking about how they effectively give to them, perhaps one of the best gifts you can give your family is your own financial security.
Welcome to the Fiscal Foxhole, the podcast proving you don't need a degree in finance, just some grit, a game plan, and maybe a sense of humor. Your hosts are retired Army veteran Rob Moore and retired Marine veteran Omen Quelvog. Together, they'll help you dodge financial landmines, call in the air support on your savings, and laugh at the ridiculous money mistakes we've all made. If you can survive mandatory fund days, you can survive personal finance. Welcome to the Foxhole.
Welcome once again to the Fiscal Foxhole. I'm your host for today, Rob Moore, and I'm joined here in the Foxhole, as always, by Santa's favorite helper, Omen Quelvog.
Man, Santa's favorite helper. I thought I was Santa with this fabulous beard.
It does look good. And you'd think by the snow we've had recently here in Virginia, we're practically in the North Pole. At least it feels like it. Early December was not expecting this.
Yeah, they had forecasted like flurries. And as usual, I thought that the school systems around here that canceled school on Friday were overreacting. And turns out, they actually got this one right. Several inches of snow. It's pretty awesome.
Down in the hills where you live, that might be the case. We got the dusting on Friday. We saw it come in. The schools did a 2-hour delay. So that's all we had, and it was appropriate. The rub was my son, who swims at 4:30 in the morning. On Thursday night, I kind of primed him with the question. I almost gave him an out, like, hey, what are you thinking about swim tomorrow morning? Because you can either go at 4:30 and then have 2 hours off before school starts, or not go at all. And he wanted to go. So I was there. He was the only one at that practice. There was no one else. It's a big group too. So he was really proud. Yeah. But we braved I think we got like a half inch or something, but it was still nice to see snow on the ground. Like, we usually don't get that till January, February around here, at least.
I know. That's not even wintertime. Technically. Not even winter.
Yeah, that's right. Not even wintertime. December 20th, we still have a couple weeks till that even hits. So yeah, it's just really nice. We're getting in the Christmas spirit. In case you haven't noticed, Omen and I are both really big Christmas fans. This is our this is our second themed Christmas episode. We're going to have one more, and we had a little Christmas nugget in the 2 episodes ago at the end. But we are not ashamed. We are one level above having Santa hats on while we record, but today's episode is no different. But before we dig in, I did want to say, Omen, we switched our advertising from advertising each other's firms on the podcast. If you're a fan and been listening for a while, you've heard those. Now we're, doing advertising for the Military Financial Advisors Association, which we're both members. We're big fans. But I do want to mention, we are taking clients. Omen and I are both taking clients. January's coming around, and it's a great time to start anew, get a fresh start on your finances. Both Omen and I, we have free consultations to begin, so you can check it out, see what you think, if it's worth it or not, and move forward. But I did just want to bring that up, and you can find the way to reach out to us in the show notes.
New year, new you, right? Can I say that? Is that a copyright?
Yeah, when you're done signing up for the gym membership you're not going to use, reach out to us and figure out how to pay for it. Is that fair? All right. Today, like I said, we got a Christmas stuff around the corner, another Christmas episode. This one, I think we're not trying to shoehorn as much information as I think we found. Like, our favorite topic was Christmas movies, and we're trying to get good information. Today is just all good stuff that applies to everybody this time of year when it comes to gift giving. But before we get into that, we've got today's headline. Today's headline comes to us courtesy of Emily Graffeo. I think you put these in here with names that I can't pronounce, but it's Graffeo.
I wouldn't do that.
So shockingly, this doesn't come from Kiplinger. It comes from ThinkAdvisor. And the title of the article is Vanguard will now allow crypto ETFs on its platform. Cue alarm bells, right?
Yeah, this is a big headline.
This is interesting. Kind of like you saw this turning this year. So this is not surprising. Quote from the article, Vanguard Group, the world's second largest asset manager, has decided to allow ETFs and mutual funds that primarily hold cryptocurrencies to be traded on its platform, reversing a long-standing position. Now, Omen, we know Vanguard is kind of the standard bearer when it comes to passive indexed investing. And, both you and I primarily invest in index funds. So really familiar with Vanguard. And I don't know, are you surprised to see this move by them? I think in some ways, yeah, but also some ways, no.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of this. If you think about how Vanguard was formed by John Bogle, what would Bogle think at this moment? Like, what would WWBD, what would Bogle do? I really don't know, because Vanguard was founded on these passive index funds, a way to be able to invest really inexpensively and do so in a way that does expose you to some risk, but not nearly the amount of risk that you would consider when it comes to things like crypto. Yeah. Like, it's not like you're going to go find a futures ETF fund somewhere on the Vanguard platform. So, and I'm not necessarily comparing crypto to futures, but there is quite a lot of volatility when it comes to crypto, even, that you probably wouldn't expect on the Vanguard platform.
Omen, I think what you're speaking to, if the way I put it, is the difference between investing and speculating. Right. Because with futures, yes. With futures, cryptocurrency, agreed, things like that, those are types of speculation that you're trying to predict what the cost of whatever underlying asset's going to be in the future. A cynic might say that investing in standard stocks like the S&P 500 or whatever is a type of speculation as well. But the difference is how these assets are built and the value they're built upon. Underneath, any standard stock where there's a company with hundreds, thousands, whatever employees that are working towards building a product. They're selling it, and they're earning a profit, dividends, et cetera. So there's an underlying engine of a kind of a natural value in a stock inherent. And with a bond, it's the same thing. It's a derivative of that because you're lending money to those institutions. But inherently built in, there is some amount of value. With cryptocurrency, it is literally what the other person says it's worth if they're willing to buy it at that price. To me, that's pure speculation, right? It's adjacent and akin to gambling.
So was there a little bit of a surprise? Yeah, I think that there was a surprise that Vanguard would suddenly take a turn on this. And so kind of have to ask the question, why would they take a turn and suddenly open up a crypto ETF?
I think, Omen, I have an answer to that question that you might be satisfied with, maybe or maybe not. But personally, myself, over this last year, I'm changing my tune a little bit with crypto. Now, currently my clients, if they have crypto, it's held away from my management. I don't manage it for them. It's not something that I really enjoy putting in plans because of the speculative nature that we just talked about. It's hard to plan for. But the difference here, and this is probably what Vanguard's thinking, is that the government is changing its tune when it comes to crypto. Okay. And why does that matter? To me, it matters because crypto is very similar to the dollar bill in a lot of ways. In other words, it's only valuable. The dollar bill, like if we exchange for something, it's valuable because you see the value in it too. Like if I bought something from you, it's because you think that the dollar is worth something. Okay. The same thing goes with crypto. Up until now, the biggest difference was the dollar was backed by the fiat decree of the government, right? The US government said it's worth something and we all agree and we adhere to that decree from the government. Everyone just agrees, and around the world too, even. Well, now we have a case where the government isn't saying that specifically, but they are owning crypto, right? So the government currently owns over 20 billion in Bitcoin. I don't know if you knew that, which is crazy. They own they also own over 60,000 Ethereum coins. Now, most of this is seized through law enforcement. So it's not like they're buying it. In fact, they've come out and said, we're not buying crypto, but they're keeping what they have and they're creating a strategic asset reserve in crypto. So to me, even though they're not coming out and saying it, they're saying it's worth something, right? Because they're buying it and they're holding on to it, which inherently builds its value.
I can definitely see where you're going with that. And honestly, I think that just pure demand, and in this article, it's even listed that it's the pure and persistent demand by consumers asking for an ETF built on crypto that it brought about change at Vanguard. Like it was just that persistent demand and peer pressure, basically, of we want this ETF, so they built an ETF for it. I think it's interesting that the ETF and the announcement of the ETF came around at a time in crypto's history where we've seen a significant decline just since October. And so it just speaks to the volatility of the asset itself. And so I don't know if the government backing it will or will not play a role in its stability, perhaps maybe in the future. I know that its usage is becoming more and more like there are actual crypto stores, like they accept cryptocurrency as their currency to purchase things. So I know that those exist, but you're not alone in your thinking. Even just this past Saturday in my running group, there was a guy there he does not want the government involved in anything except for when we got around to crypto. He said, he said if the government backed crypto, he would buy crypto. So you are not alone in that thinking. I don't disagree with you there either. I'm just, again, a little bit more hesitant to suggest that as a recommendation as far as a part of a client's portfolio. And if I do, it would be a really small part of it.
Yeah, I haven't deployed this yet. It's still in the formation, trying to figure out how best to use it. To answer your thought about the stabilization of it, I don't see it being any less volatile because there's nothing it's derived from. It's not like when I said a stock, there's real intellectual property, there's buildings, there's vehicles and raw materials and inventory and et cetera. Like there's a lot there that stocks and inherently bonds are built upon that you can kind of derive the value from, especially profits, right? With crypto, it's still not there, other than the fact that everyone just kind of like, oh, this month everyone really thinks it's valuable, and this month everyone doesn't. And meanwhile, there's at the heart of it, there's the government who owns a bunch and's holding it, right? So I don't see it as being any less volatile. Now that when you talk about how to implement it into your plan or your portfolio, there is kind of an interesting thing when it comes to needing risk. There's a kind of an inverted bell curve as I see it for risk tolerance or risk need when it comes to your portfolio. Now, this is just FYI. If you're behind the curve on your financial plan, you might need more risk. You might need in order to try to attain whatever goal you're going for. In other words, I'm not saying crypto is a good answer, but it has a ton of risk involved to it. So in other words, you're not going to get to your goals unless you take on a ton of risk. Now, if you're in the median, kind of like on pace with your plan, but you don't have a lot of excess when it comes to meeting your goals, then risk is not your friend, right? You want to actually lower your risk down to make sure you attain you've already achieved it, right? You've already kind of achieved your goals. So you want to hold on to that and not risk losing it. And now as it swings back up to the other end, people that are way ahead of schedule financially, actually now we're back to being able to take more risks. Because if you do lose, let's say you allocate 20% into crypto or something like that, and it goes down 50%, well, you didn't need it anyway, likely, right? But you might as well YOLO it from episode 1. Yeah.
Easy.
In a way. In other words, you can take that because it's like, well, let me just see how much I can maximize the legacy I leave my kids or the charity of my choice or whatever. So just one note in there that I find is kind of interesting when it comes to both sides of the spectrum and risk.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate your viewpoint on that. I would probably on the left side of that bell curve, instead of taking more risk, particularly like through something like crypto, would actually have a conversation with somebody about lessening their goals or lessening their expectations, because there is still a lot that can go wrong with that, especially if you're taking those risks and suddenly you find yourself on the downward side of what crypto is doing right now. And now not only can you not fund the goals that you had wanted to, now you can't fund anything. So yeah, I would tend to have the conversations about expectations before taking more risk in the portfolio where the risk need. I try to actually lessen what the need is before looking at something a little bit more risky, putting clients in there. So again, none of this is like actual financial advice. These are just our musings over how we think about risk and goals, expectations, and things like that. So yeah, these are tough conversations for sure.
If you're looking towards Bitcoin to fund your Christmas goals, this is the episode for you. And with that, let's get into the meat of the episode, shall we? Like I said, we are big Christmas fans. So today we're talking all things holidays, expenses, and Christmas gifting and things like that. And the title of today's episode is The Holiday Money Traps. How to avoid them, hopefully. This is not enticing you to fall into holiday money traps. But I think the idea of this is probably pretty apparent to everybody, right? This time of year, there comes a lot of expenses, some more unforeseen. We feel the urge to spend more than we otherwise would. And obviously, any other time of the year, we're not buying gifts for everybody in our life and spoiling our children, et cetera. So you've got this really acute amount of time where finances become very fluid. Money's kind of going all different directions. It's hard to plan for. A lot of people don't, and they end up on the back end after the holidays suffering the consequences of these money traps that we're going to talk about.
Most of us, can I speak for most of us?
No, probably
most
not.
of us probably no. Okay. I have had that feeling in January where you get the credit card bill that you're just like, I think I know the amount of damage in here, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
I just let me hope. Is hope as a koa, right? Like, let me hope that the damage isn't as much as I think it is.
I think you do.
Trying to avoid those.
I think you do speak for most people in that thought. I'm giving you a hard time, but I think most people are like that. I don't think they're like me. Now, if I can speak for myself, I look at it every day. And I know people don't do that, but that's what I do. I really like doing it. I know
Weirdo.
It's so strange, but there's a lot of things contributing to that effect that you end up overspending, spending more than you think, and you're afraid to look at it. There's a lot of things. There's holiday sales, right? It's everywhere. Beginning on Thanksgiving is the sales. And that's not even from the demand side. Like, even if you weren't thinking about buying a gift from someone, which I'm sure you are, but this is just coming from the external. Like, they're like, hey, buy this, buy everything's on sale. Starting being Black Friday, and it never ends. Black Friday is like pretty much perpetual until Christmas Day.
It's still going. Like, Black Friday is still going today. It's still going. Longest Black Friday ever.
Now, when it comes to the internal side of things, there is the pressure to buy gifts for everybody. There's obviously the core group of folks, your family and your close friends, et cetera, that you want to buy things for. But then there's always the dog walker, the mail carrier, the teachers, your favorite podcaster with the email address you can reach out to and arrange to send gifts to, right? I'm an XL tall.
Hey, put them on
I'm
your
an
list.
XL tall. They're unrelated. I don't know about you. Yeah. Yeah.
Large. Always large.
Extra medium for the t-shirts. Sleeves optional.
Love it. Sun's out, guns out.
But the holidays are also filled with guilt. Like, if you don't buy the gifts for all these folks, then you have this leftover guilt. You're trying to avoid that. Anyway, there's a lot of pull and push when it comes to spending around the holidays. We all feel that. This is no surprise. I do really quick want to bring up one thing. Wise nugget from the last episode. You talked about it. We didn't dive into it. And you talked about the yacht, if it brings you happiness. This is interesting because it is the time of year to think about gifting and what it represents. And we can indulge in the materialism of things a little bit. It kind of goes to the old adage that I like to say. Very altruistic people will say money can't buy happiness. And that's it. Like, it's true. Money can't buy happiness, but it sure is hard to be happy without it. And that's why we do what we do, because we're not meeting our goals. We're not the retirement we desire, et cetera. And that is the gift giving that we wish to pursue around the holidays, right? So we're going to show you ways to be smart about it. We're not going to try to tell you ways to like completely avoid spending on Christmas gifts. This is the time. We're going to talk about how to build a goal and do it smartly, right? There is a material aspect to your generosity, to your spirit and your soul that you want to share with people. There's a way you can do it. There's multiple ways you can do it. And that's something that you've actually said is money just amplifies who you already are. So if you're around the Christmas and the holidays, you're going to be sent, like, you might get a lot of messages from different people. What we want to share with you is this is just a smart way to go about it. Be honest about your goals and who you want to give to and what you want to give, and then develop a plan to achieve it.
Money underpins everything that you want to do for anybody else. And so as we go through the episode, I think it's important to think about who you are purchasing for. Like, if you're doing this all because I want, that's not what we are proposing on this episode. This is more about how do you give to other people in a way that's meaningful and doesn't break the bank.
That's a great transition to the first point we have here, is defining who those people are.
Yeah.
So first of all, just know who you're giving gifts to. Your spouse, your kids, maybe immediate family. That's how close they are. And then start with that core and then work your way out.
Yeah.
Okay. But be extensive. Like, just think about anybody, because as you get closer to Christmas or whatever the giving season is, like then it's like, oh my God, I forgot about so-and-so. I forgot about so-and-so. And that starts to unravel. Thinking about it earlier, expanding that circle out, and then whittling it thoughtfully, you're culling the herd, as it were, as far as your gift giving can set you up for success.
I like to think of this as concentric circles around you. Who are the people that matter the most to you? It's probably going to be your spouse, your kids, those core people. And then you go to the next ring, and that's going to be your immediate external family, like your parents and your siblings and things like that. And then you go to your next ring, and now this is going to be your in-laws and all the other people that start to extend out. And eventually you start to get out into the ring where, it's some fairly nebulous folks that have some kind of influence in your life, but you might still want to get them a gift, but maybe it's a $25 gift instead of a $150 gift or something like that. But planning out the people in your life, and here too, I would like to get into one of the issues with family giving is the feelings of guilt, because somebody else in your family got you a gift last year and wasn't necessarily satisfied at the thank you card you gave them. Something I really like to tell people is not to let other people's spending habits dictate yours. You don't have a choice in the fact that somebody else gave you a gift. There doesn't have to be this sense of reciprocity that you have to give a gift of equal or greater value to somebody who gave you a gift last year or even this year. If they want to give you a gift, great. Make sure you thank them for that gift and tell them that you appreciate them for that gift. But that doesn't dictate the fact that you now have to give them
nothing to add to that. That's really well put. Exactly. Yeah. Gift freely given, gift freely received. All right. So I think we're kind of beating around the bush here, but we can't avoid it. The B word. Create a budget. Budget.
Not that. Oh, I was going to say, not that B word.
that's more off duty. I can't avoid that word. Yeah.
Okay.
But I love the B word. Yeah. Budget. You have to budget. I say this, it's one thing. We're really good at our jobs, I like to think, right? And we come up with creative ways to make everything financially easier. There is no way around budgeting. Like you absolutely have to. And Christmas is no different, right? Just don't wing it. Like how many years have you just had an idea in your head? Like if in November, you're like, oh, I'll spend X amount of dollars on Christmas. And how many times is that correct? Now, you might not think that in November, but there is an idea, I guarantee you had, and then you're going to be surprised after. And I guarantee is never lower, probably not, because we weren't really thoughtful leading into it.
I can tell you as somebody who is not a spender that this is a problem for me in that it's not that I forget to budget for it. I just forget to give gifts. And because I know my wife loves me. I know. My wife loves me so hard. It is, I forget to budget because I forget to give gifts. That's a problem. I know that's a me problem that I need to work on, and I will pray about that. But it is the fact of the matter is Christmas, just like birthdays, shouldn't catch you off guard. It comes around every single year.
Best way to save on presents is don't give them. Well said. Good. Save money on your home. Go be homeless.
Oh, man.
Well,
all right.
You bring up a good point. This is why we budget for the whole year. We don't budget, you can budget month to month in the standard regular expenses you have, but then you have these infrequent special occasions, right? That are, Christmas, birthdays, or whatever they happen, but they do happen once a year, right? They are regular in the yearly cycle. So this is why when we put together a budget, it's for the entire year, because you got the birthdays and it's any other types of things that you might consider, but Christmas is a big one. So you don't end up trying to pay for last Christmas. In the next year, you end up paying for this one this year. So you already have the money set aside, either pulled forward from previous budget months to pay for Christmas, or it's all set aside in one chunk in a savings account, however you do it. But being thoughtful about the whole year is the best way to get that done.
Just so you don't think that we're like leaving you out here with just go create a budget. It's so easy. If you're wondering how much you should put aside, go back to last year's Christmas statements. Go back to your last credit card statements. Go back to your last personal banking statements, whatever. Look at what you spent last year on Christmas and just use that as a target for this year. If that fits within the budget because you're doing a last minute budget because this show is 2 weeks prior to Christmas and you're thinking, oh, this is the first time somebody told me to do a budget, then maybe that might not fit this year. But as you go into next year, keep track of what you spent this year on Christmas and use that as your initial target for what you might budget in your yearly budget and your annual budget for
it doesn't even have to be that hard. I mean, that's very simple and clear because that will be accurate. You could even go back and just look at, if you have a tracking software like Monarch, YNAB, or any of these other features that will track your spending, just average January, I would say, to October, because November kind of creeps into it. The spending escalates in November. Just average January to October and then look at the difference in November and December. There's your difference right there. So even if it's not all gifts, because there's all this ancillary spending, like maybe a holiday show or whatever, or more eating out or whatever you do around the holidays. So there's your number right there. Like that's going to capture probably your gift giving and everything else is related to the holidays. This episode is brought to you by the Military Financial Advisors Association.
MFAA is a global network of independent, fee-only fiduciary financial advisors who specialize in serving military families.
And we're not just highlighting it. Omen and I are members ourselves, so we know firsthand what they stand for.
That's right. Every member of MFAA is either active duty, a veteran, or a military spouse, so they truly understand the unique financial challenges that come with military life.
Plus, every advisor must hold or be actively pursuing the CFP designation, which is the gold standard in financial planning.
But let's put that together. When you choose an advisor with MFAA, you are getting a professional who won't sell you a product, who knows the military life, and will plan using your hard-earned military benefits.
Whether you're navigating a step out of the military after 4 years, a military retirement, or a transition into a work-optional lifestyle, MFAA advisors speak your language.
Visit militaryfinancialadvisors.org to find an advisor who fits your mission.
MFAA, real advice, real experience.
This advertisement is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. All investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. Information and opinions provided within the fiscal foxhole do not necessarily reflect official positions or opinions of the Military Financial Advisors Association or its members. Consult a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, I was going to mention just kind of the next step in that, though, is now that you've kind of isolated the amount of money that you have to budget for those people, you can actually look back to your previous step that we had of those concentric circles that surround you of who you are giving to, and can take that amount and start to divvy it out to those people, your spouse, your kids, your coworkers, your in-laws, your second nephew's cousin's aunt's dog. I don't know, but like you can start to divvy out all the various amounts of money to those people that are important.
Yeah, so you're separating it like even further down. Like to me, it feels like I just have a large chunk set aside for December, and I pull from that proportionally based on the year. Like one kid's not doing so good in school. Guess what? Like he's not gonna get that big item. Santa might not be so nice to him.
Oh, right? Man.
It's actually kind of the case this year, but yeah, we could be a little bit more flexible.
I'm going to come talk to your kids.
Yeah, Uncle Omen's going to stop by with Christmas lessons, the ghost of Christmas present that you didn't get.
That's right. Here's your coal.
All right, so you're being thoughtful about the actual the amount of money you decided to spend. There is a draw, even though you're well planned and you're well thought out and you're going to spend this amount of money. Now you're faced with the challenge of actually sticking to it because there are emotional pulls to your plan that's going to try to derail you.
But it's Christmas. But it's Christmas. This person really needs this gift.
They really want it.
This person, they really want it.
Yeah, I want them to have a happy Christmas. So I have to buy them the gift they don't need maybe, but they really, really want, or
that they
can't afford.
Rob, I still remember what you mentioned in the last episode about the fact that most kids don't actually remember what they got for Christmas last year, but they sure remember those experiences. Like this is it. This is where this comes to head of, but it's Christmas. Okay, let's think about where this money could actually go to, if you have it, to provide an experience that they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
I've got actually something for off duty about that. So stick around after the episode's over. If you don't stick around for off duty after the close out of the episode, about 20 seconds out, we do a little off duty chat. I've got a good thing for that today. I'm really excited to share with you. The other emotional pull is all the incentives to purchase from specific stores and the rewards programs. You know, we're a big fan of Dick's buying sports stuff for our kids all the time. And we get, points back from them. I use a 2% cash back card. just remember, like, don't let that wag the dog. Like, seek the best deal. And if on something you really want, if the deal is the incentive to buy the thing, it's probably not something you want or need. So you identify the person and the gift, right? And then you're seeking out the best deal. And if it happens to give you rewards for like Kohl's Cash or something that you use anyway, or you're going to be shopping throughout the year, then yeah, cool. But make sure that is just an ancillary benefit rather than sort of almost like a loss leader in your budget where you're going to end up spending more just to get 2 or 1% cash back.
I probably can't account for the number of times I've heard, I bought this thing to save this much money. Like, think about that for just a second. I bought this thing. I spent money to save money. Does not compute.
It's the same thing we talked about, like earn less money to save on taxes. It's absurd.
Does not compute.
You wrote something down here, a quote, and I'm just going to go ahead and steal it from you. But the nice thing is this also helps you avoid the trap and the guilt of saying we can't afford it. So if you've created the budget and you avoid the pull of these feelings and these traps, it means you're more decisive about your spending. So instead of saying we can't afford it, we're saying, no, we're choosing to spend our money this way. And we can't buy everything, right? We've already chosen to spend this. So this other thing that we're now feeling the emotional pull to, we've already chosen not to spend money on it.
We've said the statement in a different way before, and I'm pulling this from some other podcast I'm sure I've heard it from. You can buy anything. You just can't buy everything. And so this is the priority of how you're going to spend the money that you've decided to allocate towards gifts or eating out or going to see a show or the number of lights you put on your house and the electric bill that then comes with that.
That's a shout out to Paula Pant and Afford Anything. I'm a fan of her podcast. She uses that. We're unsolicited and unendorsed. We don't know her personally, but it's a good podcast. This is one of the lines she used, which I really like.
Yeah, we're seventh cousin removed from her podcast.
She's in the 28th circle of gift giving for me. I can't wait. Okay, so like I said, Omen writes the scripts. I can't wait to make fun of him here. All right. There's other ways to give gifts, right? Because it's the thought that counts.
It is the thought that counts. Come on. What are you going to do? Give another gift card? Another Starbucks card?
There's someone listening to this episode and there's a child in the back seat while they're driving, they just rolled their eyes like, no, oh God, no, not it's the thought that counts line. I'll let you take it.
I'm getting another sweater.
Yeah. I'll let you take it from here. Yeah.
All right. Here it is. So my wife is a maker and she makes fantastic gifts. And I'm telling you, the people in our lives that get gifts from her are so thankful for those gifts. At least they tell us to our faces anyway, right? We're not talking like the pink bunny from Christmas Story. We're talking well thought out shirts, hats, mugs, things like that she makes for them that are very personal to them. It speaks to something of their personality, of their humor, of their character. And those gifts are not all that expensive. And so it helps our money to go further, to be able to provide more gifts for more people. And honestly, I think it tests the value of the relationship in terms of, if you get a gift card, do you even know that person? Like, that nothing tells me more that you have no idea who I am or what I represent than giving me a gift card. I mean, I'll take your gift card. Don't get me wrong, but thanks. I appreciate it. But if you give me a mug that says, and my wife actually did do this for me, we have a thing around our house because we have a pond right out here that has a bunch of ducks on it, and I see them feeding all day. And so all I see are a bunch of duck butts. And so I have a mug that says duck butt on it with a duck butt that sticks out of the water. Like, that to me is just, it's very caring, very loving. And those kinds of gifts go a long way with me.
Despite my cynical nature, yeah, that is absolutely 100% true. Yeah, that gift of service that we talked about the last episode of the financial lessons from Christmas movies, right? The something, made for somebody else, because it shows that intentional thought and effort put into creating this thing. Even if it's like printing off a picture, putting it in a picture frame, right? And choosing the picture frame, putting that together. Something as small as that shows really thoughtful intent and care and time spent out of, Megan's time's valuable, right? She's spending the time making a gift for others.
No Joey coupons. You know what I'm talking about, right? With the Joey coupons from Friends?
No, I
don't.
Come on. Go ahead.
You'll have to go back and watch some Friends episodes with Joey coupons, but these are like free massages and things like that. So trust me, your wife doesn't want those.
I want to make fun of you so bad right there, but I won't. I want to actually mention to your point about maid. There's our neighbor who we adore. It was from our old neighborhood, and she makes Christmas cookies. She's a baker, right? So she bakes them and she makes a whole assortment and she delivers them to the people she cares about. We get a set every year. Inside, she puts like 3 or 4. She makes these chocolate chip oatmeal cookie, but then makes a sandwich out of it. So it's like in the in-between is like kind of like that sweet kind of frosting cream in between. So it's actually 2 smashed. Oh my God. Unbelievably good. It's like the best cookie I've ever had. So I'm always on lookout for them around the holidays. When she shows up, I'm taking the 10 and pulling those 4 or 5 out before anybody else. That's my gift to the family is I take those on myself so nobody else gains the weight from eating those, right? That's the service that I give to my family.
I was going to say, this is where your clothes closet went wrong, right?
that and margaritas. I think we've captured a lot of the wise ways to spend. This is probably not news to anybody. It's just time. This is the time of year where you start thinking about it, right? And if you're already kind of behind the 8 ball, this is releasing December 17th. So you're a week away from Christmas already. You probably, if you're going to fall prey to these, you've already fallen prey to them. Nothing in here that you haven't already experienced maybe in years past or even this year. But it's just start to think about next year. In January, if you're putting your budget together for the year, it's like, okay, now's the time to be really thoughtful in January. I will tell you, someone who does this, who pulls money forward into the year, I have a budget and spreadsheet that automatically pulls money forward or backward, however I need it, based on things that I drop in there. So like a vacation, Christmas spending, whatever. I've got money in 2026 in January that's going to be pulled forward to December of 2026 automatically. So I can't touch it.
What a nerd.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if I would recommend doing that, building out yourself, because that is a labor of love. I love doing it, but there's so many financial apps that'll help you do that. So January is the time. I know it's corny. The New Year's resolution is the time to do it. Before we jump out of here, there is one more thing I want to mention. When it comes to some people, they give gifts throughout the year, to their children, especially higher net worth individuals that want to start to pass their wealth along to their children, the future generations. Christmas is a good time to do it, and there's really effective ways you can go about it.
Yeah, this is my favorite part of the episode when we talk about giving gifts of cash, particularly because we have adult children now, and Megan and I have had the conversations about they're a little bit too old for us to be giving them, I don't know, clothes or an Xbox or PlayStation or, we're kind of out of that range, right? They're young adults now, and so I remember when we were young adults, I appreciated when my mom and dad I'd see a check in a card. Like that would be great. I would love to see that. And so this is really my favorite part of this episode.
Yeah. So this is something you probably don't know. Aside from the rest of the episode, we talked about this all, like no secrets here. Well, this is kind of interesting because we're going to talk a little bit about gift and estate tax law. When it comes to giving, even if it's family members, there are limits. Now, they're very high limits, but there are limits to how much you can give, but they're very permissive. So let's just start with the basic. There's an annual exclusion. Okay. So the way the government sees it is anybody can give anybody else, as of 2025, $19,000 a year. So I can give Omen $19,000 a year. I can give Megan $19,000. I can give whoever. I give my mailman $19,000 a year. I can give it to whoever, my neighbor. I can give it to every single person I could give $19,000 a year to. Now your spouse is excluded because that's kind of like shared assets, right? But your children fall under this. So if you're giving money to your children, you can up to $19,000 a year give them cash every single year, and your spouse can also give them $19,000 a year, which is, it's a high amount, but you can give them that amount every year without running into gift or estate tax consequences.
And that $19,000 is actually good for 2026 as well. But just keep in mind, it does go up with inflation over time. So that amount could change for 2027. But this is a really good way to give. And I generally like to say that if you're having estate plan conversations and you're waiting until you're dead to give away the wealth that you have, maybe think about reframing this conversation. I always like to say it's better to give with a warm hand versus a cold one. there's part of the blessing of giving is actually watching their faces on Christmas morning, right? So when you give a gift of cash, and a lot of cash at that, you want to see their facial expressions, and that in itself is the blessing of giving that you get out of this.
You get to give openly and freely and watch them enjoy it. So even if you don't have a specific goal in mind for them to use it towards, you're able to share your wealth with them in the years that, otherwise they would have to wait for it. And like you said, early in your young adulthood, money can be very powerful. They can invest it. They can buy, help with the down payment on a home, et cetera. They can do worthwhile. Now they can do stupid things with it too. But either way, you're able to give it to them while you're still alive and with them and watch them enjoy it. Now, if you do decide to go over that 19,000, still no big deal. Like right now, the lifetime exclusion is almost $14 million. So all it's going to do is, like, if you go 1,000 over the 19,000, that 1,000 amount is going to come off the 14 million. Okay. If you go 1 million over, then your lifetime exclusion drops down to 13 million. Okay, right. Not a big deal. These are very high net worth problems to have. But just to kind of show you, you'll be surprised how many times I get asked, like, how much money can I give somebody? Don't be scared of the estate and gift tax. It's not as prohibitive as you think. Now, I do want to say, you talked about being thoughtful, like doing it in the years that you're alive and you can watch them use it. The primary gripe I hear from folks that are thinking about giving to their children is they're worried that they might not use it for the best means. Okay. Just a note here, you can give in the way you intend for them to use it. Now, you can't make the down payment on the home for them because it's got to be their interest. It's got to come from them, but so you have to give the money to them first. And by the way, some mortgage lenders don't like that. So be aware of that. You might have to give it to them like a year ahead. So there's no trail, not a trail, but like it has to be over. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, other ways you can fund a 529 for education. Now, you can also, interestingly, you can pay direct to medical and educational institutions. So if there's a medical bill to be paid or education like tuition, you can pay as much as you want towards that. It doesn't affect at all the gift and tax exclusion, doesn't count at all. So you can give as much as you want every year to an educational institution or a medical institution on the recipient's behalf. And that's totally fine, as long as, it's given directly to the institution. It's not given to the person. Okay, so that's the caveat. So there's interesting ways you can give in a way to ensure that it's being received in the way you want it to be.
I want to take just a quick second to talk about super funding a 529 as well. So giving 5 times the annual gift exclusion into a 529 account is something that is allowable. Now, you can't then go back and give them another super funded 5 years next year. Like, that is your 5 years annual gift to that person gone. But that is, if you've got $95,000 sticking around your account that you'd like to give to somebody and you want to stick it into a 529 and completely pay for their college, that is an option.
So if there's any E4s out there listening, you got 95 grand sitting around. This is the way you could do it.
Or your
sometimes we talk about this stuff. I'm like, we are talking to military folks, right?
We are. Doesn't mean they're all poor, right?
Million that you can get away with giving. Yeah, it makes me laugh. But it's still interesting to know. You'd be surprised if you do right with your money. By the time you retire, you get later in life, you could end up there very easily. One more point here before we get into our quiz and the off topic. Not to be corny, but I really do believe this. If you're thinking about giving to your children, especially your adult children or future grandchildren, etc., if you're thinking about how they effectively give to them, perhaps one of the best gifts you can give your family is your own financial security. Okay. What I mean by that is, let's say you do want to give a gift of $5,000, even if it's to fund your grandchild's education. That's a very worthwhile, wonderful thing. And when you give it, you will feel good and you'll watch them use it and it'll feel great. However, if the gifts we're giving, especially these larger ones, are hindering our financial security in the future years, later in life, when you might need long-term care, might have high medical bills, etc., then you're not really giving a gift. You're actually creating a potential burden upon your children. They're going to have to take care of you. So one of the best gifts you can give your family members is to create a solid long-term plan, is to spend your retirement. Spend the money, spend your wealth in retirement in a wise way, such as you don't run out before you pass away. Right? Invest in your health. Be healthy so you can be present with your grandchildren. They don't want your money. They want your lap. right? They want your time. They want you throwing a ball with them and spending time with them. So not to get too, mushy, but that's really true. And you can do all those things in a way that you don't end up becoming a financial or time burden on your children.
Yeah, that's really well said. When I saw this note in the script, that's not exactly where I thought you were going with this, but I actually love the direction you went with this.
I'm curious. What did you think? Where did you think I was going with it?
I thought you were going to mention passing, one's own financial security down to their kids. And I thought, well, what will the kids actually do with that money? Who knows? Will they just scramble it away or whatever? But no, I love this, right? Because we do talk through this, that the end of your lifetime in terms of healthcare costs and potential long-term care costs. And I mean, that really could have a significant impact on your total portfolio. And how many stories have you heard, Rob, of kids having to care for their parents? It's extraordinary of how often that actually happens. And so, like you said, one of the best gifts that you can give your kids is the financial security that you have to not worry about it. I do have a couple of clients that I'm talking to right now that they have a parent in long-term care, and they are not concerned because it's already been taken care of. And it is such a weight off. So yeah, 100% go for that.
And also that gives you the reason not to give to your kids at all during the year. That's the best one. I think that's the one you subscribe to. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes.
No, I didn't forget to give you anything. I'm investing in my financial security. You're welcome.
I'm investing in my long-term care.
My long-term care is going to include the fact that I forgot to give you gifts, which indicates my mental decline, and I'm going to need extra assets to take care of me in the future.
That's right.
Merry Christmas. Well, that wraps it up for the money traps part of today's episode, the main part of today's episode. And we get to have some fun now. Is going to bring us to our trivia segment. This is our never-ending, for the moment, trivia challenge between the two of us, and one that I'm following behind very quickly in recent episodes. We're in the 13th episode, but now I know the score is very low, but Omen has a commanding lead on me right now of 2-0, which I'm still on the border. I don't know how I want to play this, but I do. Today's my chance to try to narrow the lead a little bit. Omen, it is your chance to ask me a question.
I think that this is... If you don't get the next two right and I get the next two wrong, this is it, right? Everything has to go in your favor for the next few episodes, or else you lose
win.
This year's competition. Yeah, this is a must win.
All right, go for it.
Go.
Yep.
You ready? What was the average amount of debt Americans carried into the new year after Christmas 2024? Was it $900? $1,181, $1,456, or $1,745.
Okay, so the values that you listed there already answered the first question I had. When you said the debt they carried forward, I was like, was this total debt? Like, no, This sounds like Christmas debt, right? Yeah. Okay.
Christmas debt. That's right.
The number I kind of had in mind that a lot of people end up, it was closer to 2,000, I think is probably the type of debt that most people fall under, or maybe they don't budget for an average family. I don't know where I get that number from. Maybe I've heard it from somewhere. So what were the last two? Is 1,400 and 1,700? Is that correct? C and D?
Yeah, I mean, approximately. Yeah.
Approximately. You're not going to
I can give you it's 1456 and 1745.
Okay, both equally arbitrary. So because I thought it was closer to 2,000, I'm just going to go with the highest amount and go with D.
Okay. All right.
I'm ready. Yeah, final answer.
You're finally wrong.
God, I suck at this. I'm so bad. All right, Grinch. What was the right answer?
Maybe the facts that I'm getting back from the internet webs are wrong. Yeah. I don't know, but actually it was B, 1181.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, so that came from various sources, a couple of different credit card sources, store cards, buy now, pay later sources. So, I mean, there are various sources that came up with that amount and averaged it out for 1181.
Well,
not as bad as you thought.
Maybe if I thought about it, that's the debt, right? Because people will probably be able to afford some out of pocket ahead of time. So yeah, maybe my 2,000 number. And also don't, if you're thinking, I'm spending way too much on my Christmas, but if you can afford it, spend whatever you can, or you budget as long as you're thoughtful. But Yeah, I don't know why the 2000. Maybe I'm closer than I thought, and just end up the 1100.
Is that what you
I don't.
spend?
Well, I can tell you the number I set aside, but the maybe that was the amount that was left over for debt because people didn't think ahead, right? They didn't budget, they didn't do the exercises we talked about. They weren't thoughtful about their spending. Well, we carried forward 2-0, and I believe my fate is sealed, perhaps for the rest of the year, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Hey, we got 2026, and it's a whole brand new year. New financial goals, also new trivia challenge opportunities for me. All right. Well, I think that does it for today. Thank you, Omen, for the challenging question once again. I hope everyone found something in this worth taking away, whether it's something that you've heard before, it's just a timeless wisdom when it comes to spending for the holidays, or something new that you heard that makes you think, maybe if not for this year, then for next year, something you can implement going into the future. We hope you took something of value away for today. And on that note, let's hear the practical takeaways. Omen, what are they?
Takeaway number one: Vanguard opening the doors to crypto ETFs doesn't make the cryptocurrency any less volatile or any more suitable for long-term portfolios. It simply reflects investor demand. If you choose to invest, know what you're buying, keep the exposure small, and don't risk money you can't afford to lose. Takeaway two: a plan beats pressure. Holiday overspending comes from fuzzy boundaries and emotional decisions. Get clear on who you're buying for, set a realistic budget, and remember, thoughtful beats expensive. And takeaway number three: Christmas has a way of turning into the Pentagon Wars of personal finance. What started as a simple gift turns into a fully loaded, wildly over-budget holiday operation. A plan keeps your December from mission creeping into a financial fiasco.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have questions you'd like answered on the show, please send us a note to fiscalfoxhole@gmail.com. If you heard something today that you'd like to discuss further, or you just want to dig deeper into your own financial game plan, both Rob and Omen are accepting new clients and always happy to chat. You'll find the links to their websites or to book appointments in the show notes. Rob Moore and Omen Quelvog are both registered investment advisor representatives. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While they are both advisors, they are not your advisors. Therefore, nothing you hear on Fiscal Foxhole should be taken as specific investment, legal, or tax advice. For guidance tailored to your situation, please consult a qualified professional who understands your individual circumstances.
All right, Rob. So I've heard you had a story from Saturday night.
As we talk about all these Christmas things that we learn from Christmas movies, and we talk about all the meaningful things in this episode too. Something happened Saturday night.
Wait, did you fall off the roof?
I'm good. Although I don't get up on the roof. I don't get up on the roof ever.
Okay.
I'm too old for that.
Right, cool.
No, something happened Saturday night that was really interesting. I wanted to bring up. First of all, the kind of the nexus for all this story is I took the kids to the Army Band's American Holiday Festival concert in DC Saturday night.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
It's a great show. If you're military, if you're in the DC area, even if you're not, you can request tickets every year. It's a great show. They do a really bang up job with it. It was really great. The kids were engaged. They loved it. They can't wait to go back. So we went to the Constitution Hall, saw the concert. And because parking was so terrible down there, we ended up Ubering from dinner. I took them out to dinner in Springfield, and then we Ubered from there, so we don't have to worry about it. Now, on the way out, I knew that was going to be a challenge, Ubering back, and it was. But it was even more of a challenge because they had Constitution closed down. Trump was coming from the Kennedy Center back to the White House. They had Constitution shut down. So trying to get an Uber to meet us, we were trying to find a place for it to meet, was a real challenge. I won't go into the total story, but it ended up being an hour. Okay. Yeah. It was like, and I will say it was like 33, 34 degrees. We were outside. Now we were dressed for it. I forced them to bring hats with them for this but there was no wind, and that made a huge difference. So here we are. It was 10 o'clock. we were kind of released onto the mall area, and we ended up walking all the way down to the Lincoln Memorial to try to get to a spot where an Uber could pick us up. So that took us about an hour. 5 different Ubers like canceled and restarted, and we finally got there. Now, the lesson that I learned is really important, something we talked about. The whole time I had my phone out and I was trying to deal with the logistics of what was going on. And I very quickly realized I was watching my children laugh, dance, carry on, joke, mess around with each other as we were walking down to the Lincoln. All right. And every time we were waiting somewhere, they were just having a blast. From 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. on a freezing night in the middle of DC, no one else around, they were having the time of their lives. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
And I recognized it early, thank goodness, because I kept getting annoyed with the app and trying to figure out how we're going to get home. It's my job to get us home, and I'm feeling that angst. But deep down, I'm seeing this happen, and I know that they're going to remember that. Like, I know in 10 years, they're going to remember that night that we were goofing off in downtown DC in the middle of the night, waiting for a cab home. To add a little bit of extra, gravy on the story, when we were waiting for what finally ended up being the car that took us home, the presidential motorcade went by and the president passed right in front of us, like 5 feet in front of us. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was so cool. Now, as in my job with the military, I kind of had that proximity before, but for the kids, they saw him and they just like, it was so cool to them. They're like, oh my gosh, that's the president. That was him. That was him. He just went right by. With the flags and all the, the armored limos and everything. It was the full thing. And we were the only ones out there. Like, there was no one else. It was just us, and we saw them go by. The kids remarked on that. And the kids don't always say that to us, like show us that gratitude, but they were, thank you for taking us. The next day, like last night was a lot of fun. Thank you for taking this orchestra concert and having that experience. So there was a nice dose of medicine from all the stuff that we're talking to people about in these episodes. And here I was receiving that lesson.
Yeah, that's really good. And next year, I'm definitely going to have to go through you.
Yeah, you should. It's a good show. The Air Force has a holiday show. I believe the Navy and the Marines probably do as well. All the special bands in DC, they put on their holiday shows. Obviously, the Marine Band is stellar as well. But these holiday productions, they're really good. Highly recommend.
Yeah,
but maybe find a parking spot.
Or take the train.